In the year 2157, a soothing voiceover narrates that Earth has transcended wars and famine, with nature's revival and medicine conquering deadly diseases. Humanity now boldly explores uncharted planets, entrusting the search for extraterrestrial life to the youthful vigor, courage, and unwavering belief in goodness of students. Among them is a young man named Max, setting off on yet another interstellar voyage. However, Max's journey takes an unexpected turn when his spacecraft is struck by an asteroid, forcing him into an emergency landing on an uncharted planet. As he steps outside, his shuttle unexpectedly explodes, leaving him isolated and without any means of communication. Yet Max refuses to yield to despair. Instead, he resolves to meticulously explore his newfound surroundings, which strikingly resemble Earth, in hopes of finding help and a way to re-establish contact. While navigating this mysterious world, Max encounters a native inhabitant of the planet, who captures him in the forest. Determined to bridge the language barrier, Max inserts a translator capsule into his ear, embarking on a journey of communication and understanding. The indigenous individual, Zeph, hands Max over to the authorities, and they equip Max with a helmet that has the power to display someone's thoughts and memories on a screen during the interrogation. Meanwhile, in a nearby room, Corporal Gas is assigned to transport Max to the capital as part of a SUBC convoy. As they journey, Max picks up on a strange signal, and everyone in the vicinity starts chanting the guard's anthem. They later pass by a peculiar tower that, according to Gas, serves as a defense against enemies. Out of the blue, the base of the tower explodes, causing the entire structure to collapse onto the road. Gas becomes trapped inside the car, but Max manages to rescue him. It turns out that this attack was carried out by the rebels, who are the primary adversaries of the state's supreme authority. Max and Gas make their way to the capital on foot. Meanwhile, the Wanderer, who heads the Department of Special Research, instructs his subordinate, Fank, to deliver Max to the department. Fank whisks Max away as the Republic's prosecutor reports that the Wanderer has taken in a peculiar savage. The prosecutor orders a thorough collection of all available data, and the time has come to activate the towers. Everyone readies themselves in their own unique manner. In the midst of this, the prosecutor enters a restroom and clenches a peculiar stick between his teeth. Meanwhile, Fank experiences a sudden seizure, and as soldiers rush to his aid, Max seizes the opportunity to escape from the vehicle. The bewildered young man strolls through the city, marveling at the unfamiliar and bewildering life around him. On the other side of the planet, unknown elders assemble for a meeting, reaching out to the planet's rulers. After a long journey, Max enters a local cafe where he stands up for a waitress who has been insulted by one of the customers. The appreciative young lady introduces herself as Rada, revealing that she is Corporal Gas's sister. As Max accompanies Rada to her home, he finds himself entangled in a brawl with a street gang, ultimately emerging victorious. Impressed by his actions, Rada invites him to her place. Later, Gas returns home, and Max begins to inquire about how their world operates, quickly realizing that Rada and Gas have been influenced by propaganda and false information. Rada firmly believes that their world has a hollow core, denying the existence of the sky or outer space. Meanwhile, Gas, Rada's new friend, enlightens her about their state's political setup called Serac. The enigmatic figures known as the Unknown Fathers are credited with safeguarding their homeland by using defense towers to prevent conflicts. The true identities of these Unknown Fathers remain hidden because they're not rulers but dedicated public servants. Upon Max's request, Corporal recommends him for the guard duty, a move that surprises Gas. The two men frequently clash over political matters. One day, Gas reveals that neighboring nations hold animosity toward Serac because they once formed a single state, bound by shared history. Gradually, a romantic bond blossoms between Max and Rada. They often take strolls, and Max shares stories about his home planet, Earth. He expresses regret that his family believes he's deceased. Soon, Max is assigned to apprehend rebels, who are identified by their recurring seizures reminiscent of epileptic episodes. In a dramatic turn of events, one of the rebels attacks their captain, and Max saves his life. This incident prompts the captain to reconsider the pursuit of these rebels, recognizing their shared humanity. Max eventually comes to see the rebels as misunderstood, rather than savages. He participates in interrogations and realizes that the rebels, despite being branded as terrorists by the Unknown Fathers, are regular folks with their own ideals and convictions. Max is deeply troubled by the harshness of the interrogations and finds it hard to believe that someone is actually inciting these rebels to oppose the government. Meanwhile, Fank reports to the Wanderer that he has located one of the savages, while Gas and Max are summoned to meet the captain of the guard. The captain instructs Max to carry out the execution of the detained rebels. Max leads the condemned rebels to the execution spot in the woods. However, he has a change of heart and decides to free them. He returns to the commanding officer, drops his gear and weapons, and departs. Max begins to speak about the genuine and fair order of the world that exists on Earth. In response, the captain shoots Max, and Gas is ordered to document the transfer. As all this unfolds, the unknown fathers deliberate an attack on neighboring states. The prosecutor argues fervently for the initiation of a war, and the chief father instructs them to devise a pretext, perhaps fabricating an attack on one of the towers. During this period, the rebels stumble upon Max's lifeless body. Among their ranks is a doctor who is left astounded because, according to all indications, Max should have perished. The doctor uncovers a startling truth. The unknown fathers are a clandestine group of conspirators who have seized power, eradicating dissidents in the process. This diversion effectively redirects the public's attention away from the rampant poverty and corruption. These towers function as transmitters of a unique radiation that subdues the impoverished populace. Although most remain oblivious to it, a minority, including the rebels, endures excruciating agony. The transmitters activate twice a day across the nation, driving people to madness and ultimately death. Max is acknowledged as one of their own and is chosen for an operation aimed at sabotaging the tower, a mission organized by the prosecutor. Amidst the chaos of a traitor's betrayal and the sound of gunfire, Max maneuvers his way to the transmitter, triggering its detonation. Unfortunately, the entire rebel squad loses their lives in the process. Max then seeks refuge in Rada's apartment, where he discloses all the valuable information he's gathered about the towers. Gas, on the other hand, remains skeptical and advises Max to return home with Rada. But before they can make a decision, the apartment is stormed by guards who arrest them. Max finds himself behind bars, where he encounters Z, an indigenous rebel who recognizes him. Max shares the grim news of the rebel squad's demise and the destruction of the towers. Meanwhile, the Wanderer approaches the prosecutor, seeking Max's custody. In exchange, the prosecutor insists on halting the development of more advanced transmitters, as he fears the exposure of his own secret, given his response to the raid that mirrors that of the rebels, hinting that he might be a descender too. Subsequently, Max, along with other inmates on death row, is dispatched to clear the southern borders of the remaining war robots. During this time, the prosecutor discovers Max's immunity to the emitters. He decides to renege on his agreement with the Wanderer and instructs that Max be brought to him the following day. Max attempts to convey to the rebels the notion that they should change their strategy from destroying the towers one by one to targeting the central hub where the signal originates. Z, however, becomes furious and clarifies that the towers are not merely used to identify descenders. They emit a constant, not just twice-daily radiation that impairs people's critical thinking abilities while making them unquestioningly believe everything conveyed by newspapers, radio, teachers, and preachers. Only the rebels grasp this, as the radiation doesn't hypnotize them, but instead inflicts excruciating pain. Zepp continued, mentioning the existence of mutants in the southern region who, like them, remained unharmed by the radiation. However, these mutants kept their distance from humans. Suddenly, the loud rumble of an engine reached their ears, and Zepp quickly recognized it as a self-propelled tank, a deadly threat. Max wasted no time, sprinting towards the tank and managing to get inside. He swiftly disabled the automatic control system and then relayed his intentions to his friends. He was setting off towards the south to seek allies and dismantle the border towers. As he ventured forth, the military attempted to stop the tank, and Max made out Gas among their ranks, taken as a captive. Max defied the barricades and managed to reach Gas. He explained the grim reality of the planet's situation, convincing Gas when, at the appointed time, they moved beyond the tower's range and didn't feel the radiation. Gas's anger flared as he realized he had unwittingly been a pawn of the government all along. However, Max tried to soothe his friend, reminding him of the 40 million people suffering in a similar manner, for whom this rebellion had been initiated. While on a break, the folks from the stairwell, often called mutants, emerge close to the vehicle. They display peaceful behavior and even share food with the travelers. The group decides to visit the ruler of this region, and they quickly notice the severe poverty and hardship the residents endure. The ruler explains that life here has become perilous since the last conflict, but these people have no alternative. Max proposes to the leader, known as the Duke, to initiate a revolt against the mysterious authorities. However, the mutants, both physically and morally, lack the strength to assist in this uprising. Instead, they recommend that the travelers seek aid from the island empire. To accomplish this, they have to cross a dangerous zone filled with contamination. The Duke generously offers them an old airplane, and the guys take to the skies. During the flight, the airplane gets exposed to radiation from the towers, and one of the guys, Gas, becomes fanatically devoted to Max, making it tough for Max to control the airplane. Max struggles to maintain control, and the airplane ends up colliding with one of the towers. Suddenly, Gas snaps out of his fanatical state, with no memory of what he just did. However, their aircraft is shot down by the automated anti-aircraft defense system that was still active from the previous war. The downed airplane crashes into the sea, but miraculously, Max and Gas manage to escape and reach the shore. On the shoreline, they stumble upon an abandoned submarine, and Max decides to explore it. Simultaneously, in the city, a prosecutor gives orders to his men to snatch Rada from the street. He claims to be a friend of Max and shows Rada a recording of Max's escape. However, she's skeptical and refuses to help the prosecutor in his quest. Rada ends up in prison. Meanwhile, Gas, growing impatient while waiting for his friend, decides to swim to the submarine. Inside, they uncover evidence of horrific experiments carried out on prisoners. As they make their way to the control room, they watch video recordings of mass executions of Gas's fellow countrymen by the representatives of the island empire, the very people they sought help from. Gas is horrified by the revelation that these monsters could invade his homeland, making it clear that forming an alliance with the Empire is not an option. The guys return to the shore, where they are met by a coastal patrol. A sudden war erupts with a neighboring state, and most prisoners are sent to the front lines. Meanwhile, the Wanderer aims to entice Max into his group of engineers, and he's upset that the war has disrupted his plans. He tasks Fank with tracking down Max, expressing his fear of him. At the same time, Max and Gas get orders to head to the front lines, where they meet up with Zeph. Their commander happens to be the captain of the guard, who refuses to give up the Earthling to Fank. The group is deployed into battle on outdated tanks. When Fank finally locates Max, Max chooses to stay with his friends and stuns the officer, tossing him into their tank. The battle begins, but Max steers his tank to the other side of the battlefield. Gas, influenced by radiation, blindly follows Max's lead and rescues their unconscious friends. The captain witnesses Gas offering himself as a shield when the captain prepares to execute Max for desertion. Wounded, Max summons his last reserves of strength and kills the captain. Max grieves for his lost friend. However, when he learns that Rada is now conscious, he decides to collaborate with the Wanderer after the battle concludes. Max Berry's gasoline depletes as he listens to F's suggestions. In exchange for his cooperation, Max will be granted an apartment within the Institute's premises, access to his car, and freedom of movement. However, he can only reunite with Rada once he proves his loyalty to the state. Meanwhile, the prosecutor slyly visits the Wanderer's division, where he secretly encounters Max. He suggests that Max could topple the mysterious leaders by sharing the coordinates of the central hub that controls the tower system. Once Max infiltrates the center, he must trigger a unique radiation that generates waves of despair, affecting everyone in the nation, including the military. Max faces an unknown challenge, but his success means he'll rule the state and rescue Rada from the Wanderer's clutches. The prosecutor becomes his advisor. Max brings Zeph along for a mission. At the mission's heart, he gives orders to blow up a car bomb if he doesn't return. Getting inside is easy for Max, but guards stop him before he reaches the elevator. He incapacitates them, but they wake up and chase him. Max reaches the control center and activates a device that affects the whole country. The Wanderer sees people collapsing and rushes to the control center. Meanwhile, Max plants a bomb, triggers it, and gets out. The Wanderer confronts Max. A massive explosion follows, causing chaos. People start to recover, and Max finds Rada in cryo-sleep. The Wanderer blocks Max's way and reveals that he's a galactic security employee from Earth who's been on this planet for 20 years. Chaos ensues, leading to a power struggle and casualties. The Wanderer punishes a student for ruining their economic progress. The state faces famine and threats from neighboring nations. Max resists and accuses the Wanderer of allowing the construction of towers and enslavement. The Wanderer reminds Max that history includes wars and enslavement. Max proclaims his commitment to fighting inflation, hunger, and war, vowing not to let another society based on slavery form. R joins Max, and the Wanderer smiles as they stand together.